I'm 42, married for 15 years, and I always made sure my husband Daniel knew I was never going to be some submissive 1950s housewife. We split everything equally. He did his share of the cooking, cleaning, and childcare. I managed our lives like a well-oiled machine and felt pretty damn proud of the modern, equitable household I'd built. Then, last month, he sat me down at the kitchen table, his hands shaking, and told me he had been desperately unhappy for over a decade. I was entirely blindsided. We were partners, we raised 2 kids together. How could he be unhappy? He left the house to give me space, and my mind started racing. He mentioned he'd been keeping a journal. I know I shouldn't have, but I went into his office and found them. Stacks of them, going back years. My hands physically shook as I read. The first entry I landed on, another day where I felt like a function rather than a husband. I miss being wanted. I miss feeling like I matter beyond my utility. Entry after entry described his crushing loneliness. He wrote about times he tried to hold my hand and I pulled away because I was too busy. Times he begged for a date night and I said we needed to prioritize the kids. My first instinct was pure defense. He was having a midlife crisis. He was rewriting history. I immediately called my best friend, Sarah, and showed her the journals, fully expecting her to validate me. Instead, she read them in silence, looked at me, and asked, "Maya, when was the last time you told Daniel you loved him? When was the last time you asked about his day and actually listened, instead of just waiting for your turn to speak?" I was furious. I told her I was a good wife. I never cheated. I was present. But Sarah just looked at me with pity and said, "Thanking him for doing the dishes isn't the same as making him feel loved. One is transactional, the other is emotional. You've been project managing your marriage." When Daniel came home, I confronted him. I told him he should have communicated better. I told him he was being too sensitive. He just looked at me, completely exhausted. "Maya, you've spent 15 years making sure I pulled my weight and respected your boundaries. But you never once stopped to consider mine. Name one thing you've done in the past 5 years just to make me happy." I scrambled. I bought him a watch for Christmas. I make him coffee in the morning. "You make coffee and hand me a cup because you're already making it for yourself," he replied. "Nothing you do comes from a place of love. It all feels obligatory." We tried therapy, but it only made things worse. Every session felt like an attack. The therapist pointed out that I intellectualized everything, that I lacked empathy, and that I treated Daniel's emotions like logistical problems to be solved instead of feelings to be validated. When Daniel expressed feeling stressed, I told him not to catastrophize when he felt lonely. I called him needy. The breaking point didn't even happen in therapy. It happened on the car ride home. I was complaining that the therapist was always taking his side and that Daniel was just too sensitive. He literally pulled the car over into a parking lot. "Do you hear yourself?" he asked. "The therapist spends an hour explaining how your actions deeply hurt me, and your takeaway is that I'm too sensitive. I've spent 15 years trying to be less sensitive, less emotional, just to be the husband you wanted, and I've been miserable. I don't think you're a bad person, Maya, but you are completely emotionally unavailable." He packed a bag that night. As he was leaving, my 13-year-old daughter, Emma, came into my room. I tried to reassure her, saying, "Dad and I were just working through some things." She looked right at me and said, "You guys are having problems because you don't love him. You're always annoyed with him. You're nicer to your friends than you are to my own dad." Hearing my teenage daughter say that broke whatever wall I had left. I realized that for 15 years, I was so terrified of being a doormat, so obsessed with not losing my identity, that I refused to give him an inch of my emotional self. I built a bulletproof system, but I forgot to actually love the man living inside it. Now, the divorce papers are on their way. I lost my husband not to another woman, not to a screaming match, but to 15 years of quiet, stubborn neglect. I have absolutely no one to blame but myself.